The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. The walls were made of stone from 100 different worlds, each piece polished until it shone like glass. Lights floated in the air without any wires or supports, casting a cold blue glow over everything below. Ambassador Yuna walked through this hall with her head held high. She was not a tall woman. She was not loud or fierce. But she walked like someone who knew exactly who she was and what she had come to do. Behind her came two assistants, a young man named Tay and a young woman named Sue. They carried folders full of documents and data pads with years of information. The council members sat on a raised platform at the end of the hall. There were 12 of them, each from a different species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They looked down at the humans like adults watching children play with toys. Elder Tal sat in the center. He was from the Valori species, tall and thin with silver skin that caught the light. His eyes were completely black, and when he spoke, his voice echoed through the hall like thunder in an empty cave. "The representative from Earth may speak," he said. There was no warmth in his voice. There never was. Yuna stepped forward and bowed slightly. It was a sign of respect, though she wondered if these beings deserved any respect at all. "Honored council members," she began, "I come before you today to request aid for my people. As you know, the Vorn raiders have attacked our outer colonies 7 times in the past 2 years. They have killed over 40,000 of our citizens. They have destroyed 3 of our space stations and burned 2 of our farming worlds." She paused and looked at the faces above her. Some of the council members were not even paying attention. One was looking at a small device in his hand. Another had closed his eyes as if he was sleeping. "We have fought back as best we can," Yuna continued. "Our ships are small compared to theirs. Our weapons are not as advanced. But we have held them off. We have protected our people with everything we have." "And what do you want from us?" Elder Tal asked. His tone suggested that he already knew the answer and did not care about it. "We request military support," Yuna said. "Just a small fleet to help defend our borders. We also request access to better shield technology. The shields you use on your cargo ships would be enough. We are not asking for your best weapons or your most powerful ships. We only ask for enough to keep our children safe." Silence fell over the hall. Yuna waited. Her assistants stood perfectly still behind her, their faces showing no emotion even though their hearts were beating fast. Elder Tal leaned forward slightly. "The council has already discussed this matter," he said. "We discussed it before you even arrived. We knew what you would ask." And what is your answer?" Yuna asked. "Our answer is no." The word hung in the air like a knife. Yuna did not flinch. She had expected this. She had hoped for something different, but she had expected this. "May I ask why?" she said, keeping her voice steady. "Earth is a young world," Elder Tal said. "Your species has only been in space for 200 years. You have not proven yourselves worthy of our protection. You have not contributed enough to the galactic community. You have not earned the right to ask for our help." Tay's hands tightened on the folder he was holding. Sue's jaw clenched, but Yuna remained calm. "We have contributed," she said. "Our engineers have helped repair 7 council stations. Our doctors have developed cures for 3 diseases that were killing your people. Our trade ships carry goods to 40 different worlds. We have given and given and given. And yet you remain primitive," Elder Tal said. "Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your population is small. Your military is weak. What happens to Earth is not the concern of this council." Another council member spoke up. He was from the Koran species, with blue scales and yellow eyes. "If Earth cannot defend itself, perhaps Earth does not deserve to exist. The galaxy is cruel. Only the strong survive." Yuna felt something cold settle in her chest. It was not fear. It was not sadness. It was something else. Something quieter and more dangerous. "I see," she said softly. "The Vorn are a natural force," Elder Tal continued. "They cull the weak. They have done this for millions of years. If humanity falls to them, it simply means humanity was not meant to last. Our children, Yuna said, the 40,000 who died, were they weak? They were human, Elder Tal said. That is enough. For a long moment, no one spoke. The floating lights hummed softly overhead. The stone walls gleamed with their cold beauty. Then Yuna did something that surprised everyone in the room, including herself. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a sad smile. It was the smile of someone who had finally understood something important. Something that changed everything. Thank you for your honesty, Elder Tal, she said. Thank you for making your position so clear. She turned to her assistants. Tay, Sue, please collect our things. They moved quickly, gathering the folders and data pads. Years of research. Years of requests. Years of hope. All of it was being packed away. What are you doing? Elder Tal asked. There was a hint of confusion in his voice. We are leaving, Yuna said simply. You cannot simply leave. There are protocols. There are procedures. Those protocols and procedures are for members of the galactic community, Yuna said. You have made it clear that we are not members. We are primitives. We are weak. We do not deserve your help or your time. She walked toward the door, her assistants following close behind. This is most irregular, another council member said. You must wait for proper dismissal. Yuna stopped at the door and turned back one last time. The council members were looking at her now. All of them. Even the one who had been sleeping was awake. For 200 years, we came to you with open hands, she said. We asked for friendship. We offered help. We believed that being part of something larger than ourselves was worth the struggle. Her voice did not shake. Her eyes did not water. Today, you have taught us that we were wrong. You have taught us that we are alone. And that is a lesson we will never forget. She bowed one final time, not out of respect, but out of habit. Then she turned and walked out of the great hall. Tay and Sue walked beside her, their faces pale but proud. The doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. Elder Tal sat back in his chair. Around him, the other council members shifted uncomfortably. One of them let out a small laugh. Humans, the laughing one said. So dramatic, so emotional. Give them a month. Elder Tal said nothing. He was looking at the closed doors with an expression that might have been thought, or it might have been the first tiny seed of doubt, but he pushed that feeling away. Humans were nothing. Earth was nothing. The galaxy had existed for billions of years without them. It would continue to exist long after they were gone. He was sure of it. Outside the hall, Yuna walked quickly through the corridors of the council station. Her heels clicked against the polished floor. Her assistants struggled to keep up with her. Ambassador, Tay said quietly, what do we do now? Yuna did not slow down. We go home, she said. And we prepare. Prepare for what? Sue asked. Yuna finally stopped. She turned to face her young assistants, these two people who had believed in the dream of galactic cooperation just as much as she had. Prepare to live without them, she said. Prepare to survive on our own. Prepare to become something they will never forget. She looked back at the Great Hall one last time, the building that was designed to make visitors feel small. They think we are nothing, she said. Let us show them what nothing can do. Then she walked away, and she never looked back again. The message spread across Earth like fire through dry grass. Every screen, every speaker, every device carried the same words from Ambassador Yuna. She told them what the council had said. She told them how the galaxy had turned its back. She told them they were alone. There was anger at first. People shouted in the streets. They burned flags of the council species. They demanded war, demanded revenge, demanded justice. But then something strange happened. The anger cooled. It did not disappear. It changed. It became something harder and quieter. Like water turning to ice, Captain Day stood on the bridge of the starship Horizon and watched Earth grow smaller in his window. He had served in space for 30 years. He had visited 100 different worlds. He had believed, truly believed that humanity's future was out there among the stars. Now he was going home. And he was bringing everyone with him. All ships have confirmed departure, his first officer reported. She was a young woman named Bora, sharp and quick, with eyes that missed nothing. The Andong station is empty. The Busan orbital platform is shut down. All personnel are aboard the convoy. Day nodded slowly. What about our people on Council Worlds? The last transport left Valori Prime 6 hours ago. The medical teams on Corin 4 finished packing yesterday. Everyone is accounted for. It had taken 6 months to plan this. 6 months of quiet preparation. 6 months of packing bags and shutting down systems, and saying goodbye to places they had built with their own hands. The Council had not noticed. Why would they? Humans were nothing. Humans were weak. Humans did not matter. That blindness would cost them. On the planet Valori Prime, a Valori engineer named Kel walked through the empty corridors of Station 12. This station processed water for 3 billion people. It cleaned the water, purified it, made it safe to drink. The human engineers had built it. They had designed the filters, programmed the computers, trained the local workers. They had done it for free, as a gift of friendship. Now those engineers were gone. Their tools were gone. Their manuals were gone. Everything they had created was still here, humming and working. But without them, it was just a machine that no one truly understood. Kel pressed his hand against a control panel. Red lights blinked at him. Something was wrong with Pump 7. He had seen the human engineer fix this problem a dozen times. She would press some buttons, adjust some valves, and the red lights would turn green. But Kel did not know which buttons. He did not know which valves. He called his supervisor. His supervisor did not know either. They called the central office. The central office said they would send someone. No one came. No one knew what to do. Meanwhile, Captain Day guided his convoy through the darkness of space. 1,200 ships of all sizes moved together like a school of fish. Cargo ships and passenger vessels and research stations that could fold up and fly. They passed the trade route to Corin 4. Usually this route was busy with ships carrying food and medicine and manufactured goods. Humans ran 60% of the trade ships on this route. They were cheap, reliable, and never complained. Now the route was empty. The human ships had gone dark. On Corin 4, a merchant named Voss stared at his empty warehouse. He sold medical supplies to hospitals across 6 systems. Human traders brought him these supplies from Earth, where the factories worked day and night to produce them. His last shipment had arrived 3 weeks ago. It would be his last shipment ever. He tried to contact other traders. Valori traders charged 5 times as much. Corin traders did not have the same quality. Nobody else could match what the humans had offered. Voss did not understand. Why would the humans leave? Where would they go? Did they not need money? Did they not need trade? He sent a message to the council. He asked them to do something. To bring the humans back. To fix this problem. The council did not respond. Back on the convoy, Day sat in his quarters and read reports from Earth. The government had launched a massive project. They were building defenses, real defenses, the kind they had never built before. They were digging deep into mountains and constructing shelters that could survive anything. They were training soldiers and building ships and preparing for a war that might never come. But more importantly, they were also building something else. They were building independence. New factories rose from empty fields. New farms spread across continents that had been empty for centuries. New power plants hummed with energy from sources the Council had never seen. Humans had always relied on the Galactic Trade Network for rare materials and advanced technology. Now they were learning to make do without it. They were finding new ways, harder ways, but ways that belonged only to them. A knock came at Day's door. He opened it to find Bora standing there with a tablet in her hands. "Captain," she said, "we have received a message from the Council. What do they want? They are asking why our trade ships have not arrived at their scheduled ports. They say we are in violation of 17 trade agreements." Day almost laughed. "Almost. Send them our response," he said. What should I say? Nothing. Send them nothing. Let them wonder. Ah. Ah. I see, Bora smiled slightly. It was a cold smile, the same kind of smile that Yuna had worn in the council hall. Understood, Captain. She left, and Day returned to his window. The stars stretched out before him, cold and distant and uncaring. For so long, humans had reached toward those stars with hope. They had believed that, out there, somewhere, they would find friends, they would find allies, they would find a place to belong. Instead, they had found only contempt. On Valori Prime, the water station finally broke down completely. 3 billion people suddenly had no clean water. Riots broke out in the cities. The government declared an emergency. Elder Tal received reports of the crisis while sitting in his private chamber. He read them with mild interest. A water problem. How inconvenient. He ordered his staff to fix it. His staff could not fix it. They did not have the knowledge. They did not have the tools. They did not have the humans. Send a message to Earth, Elder Tal finally said. Tell them we require their engineers to return and repair the station. Tell them it is their duty as members of the galactic community. His assistant hesitated. Elder, the humans have declared that they are withdrawing from all galactic affairs. They say they are no longer part of the community. That is absurd. They cannot simply withdraw. They have, Elder. All of them. Every human in council space is gone. Elder Tal sat very still. He thought about the ambassador, the small human woman who had smiled at him before she left. He thought about what she had said. You have taught us that we are alone. And that is a lesson we will never forget. He had thought she was being dramatic. He had thought she was making empty threats. He had thought that humans, being weak and primitive, would have no choice but to come back eventually. He was beginning to realize that he might have been wrong. The convoy reached Earth after 2 weeks of travel. Captain Day stood on his bridge and watched the blue planet fill his window. Home. It was still beautiful. It was still alive. And now, it was all they had. All ships are entering orbit, Bora reported. Landing coordinates have been assigned. Welcome home, Captain. Day nodded. He felt tired. He felt sad. But he also felt something else. Something that surprised him. He felt free. For 200 years, humanity had tried to fit into a galaxy that did not want them. They had bent themselves into shapes that others approved of. They had swallowed their pride and accepted insults, and kept smiling, always smiling, hoping that one day they would be accepted. That was over now. They did not need acceptance. They did not need approval. They only needed themselves. Bora, he said. Send a final message to all ships. Tell them that from this day forward, we ask nothing from the galaxy, and we owe nothing to the galaxy. We are human. We are home, and we will survive. The message went out across the convoy. 1,200 ships heard those words. Millions of people heard those words. And somewhere deep in their hearts, they understood. The galaxy had pushed them away. Fine. Let the galaxy see what happened when humans pushed back. Not with weapons, not with war, with silence, with absence. With the simple, terrible truth that the galaxy had needed humanity far more than humanity had ever needed the galaxy. And by the time the Council understood this truth, it would be far too late. 2 years had passed since the humans left. 2 years of silence. 2 years of slowly growing disaster. Counselor Mira walked through the streets of the Valori capital with her guards around her. The city had changed. It used to be clean and bright. A symbol of Valori power and advancement. Now garbage piled in corners. Buildings showed cracks that no one knew how to fix. The air smelled wrong, like metal and rot. The water problem had never been truly solved. Engineers from other species had tried to repair the stations. Some had succeeded. Partially. Others had made things worse. 300,000 Valori had died from waterborne diseases in the first year alone. But water was only the beginning. Mira passed a hospital that had once been the pride of the city. It was half empty now. The human doctors had left, taking their strange medicines and stranger skills with them. Diseases that used to be easily cured now killed thousands. The Valori had their own doctors, of course. But Valori medicine was designed for Valori bodies. Humans had learned to treat everyone. They had cures for Corin fevers and Tellin bone rot and 100 other illnesses that no one else had bothered to study. Those cures were gone now, locked away on a planet that refused to answer any calls. At the council hall, Mira found Elder Tal sitting alone in the great chamber. He looked older than she remembered. His silver skin had lost its shine. His black eyes stared at nothing. "Elder," she said, bowing slightly. "We need to discuss the food shortage on the rim worlds." "Another shortage," Tal said flatly. "There is always another shortage now." It was true. Human trade ships had carried 40% of all food transported across Council space. They had charged fair prices. They had delivered on time. They had never asked for special treatment or political favors. Now those ships were gone. Other species had tried to fill the gap, but their prices were higher and their reliability was worse. Some rim worlds had not received food shipments in months. People were starving. "The Talon ambassador has requested an emergency meeting," Mira said. "Her people are dying. She wants the council to do something." "What would she have us do? Force the humans to return?" "We could ask them." Tal laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "We did ask them. We sent 17 official requests. We sent trade offers and diplomatic proposals, and even threats. Do you know what we received in return?" Mira shook her head. "Nothing. Complete silence. They do not even acknowledge that we exist." Mira sat down across from the elder. She had been on the council for 50 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had seen wars and plagues and natural disasters. But she had never seen anything like this. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "we should reconsider our position regarding Earth." "What position?" "The position that they are primitive. That they do not matter. That they should be grateful for any attention we give them." Tal's eyes narrowed. "What are you suggesting?" "I am suggesting that we were wrong, Elder. We treated them as lesser beings. We denied them help when they needed it most. We told them they did not deserve to exist. Is it any wonder they left? They left because they are emotional and irrational. It is typical human behavior. Is it? Or is it exactly what we would have done in their place?" Tal said nothing. The question hung in the air between them. On the planet Corin 4, the merchant Voss had finally closed his warehouse. There was nothing left to sell, no supplies coming in, no customers coming out. He had lost everything. He walked through empty streets toward his home. The city used to be busy with traders from a dozen different species. Now it was quiet. Shops were closed. Markets were empty. The economy had collapsed so slowly that people barely noticed until it was too late. A group of young Corans stood on a corner, watching him pass. They wore the colors of a radical group that had formed in the past year. They blamed the council for everything. They said the council had driven away the humans. They said the council had doomed them all. Voss did not disagree. Back on Earth, things were very different. Commander Hyun stood on a balcony overlooking the new shipyard at Incheon. Below him, workers swarmed over the skeleton of a massive vessel. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It was designed not for trade or exploration, but for defense. "Production is ahead of schedule," his aide reported. A young man named One, fresh from the academy and eager to prove himself. "We should have the first fleet ready within 6 months." "Good," Hyun said. "What about the shield systems?" "The new designs are working better than expected. Our engineers say they are actually more efficient than what the council uses." Hyun allowed himself a small smile. 2 years of isolation had forced humanity to innovate. They could not buy technology from the galaxy anymore. So they invented their own. They could not trade for resources, so they found new ways to use what they had. In many ways, they were stronger now than they had ever been. But Hyun knew the truth. Strength meant nothing if you could not protect your people. And out there, Beyond the borders of Earth's small territory, the Vorn were still hunting. He had seen the reports from the monitoring stations. The Vorn had attacked 12 more worlds in the past 2 years. They had grown bolder without human resistance. They had grown stronger without human interference, and they were moving closer to Council space. Part of Hyun wanted to warn the Council. Part of him wanted to send a message, to tell them what was coming. But another part of him, the part that remembered every insult and every dismissal, that part said nothing. Let them face the Vorn alone. Let them see what it felt like to fight without help. In her small house on the outskirts of Seoul, Ambassador Yuna sat by her window and watched the rain fall. She was no longer an ambassador. There was no one left to be ambassador to. But old habits died hard. She still followed the news from Council space. She still read the reports of their suffering. She still felt the weight of what her words had started. A knock came at her door. She opened it to find Tae standing there, older now, with lines around his eyes that had not been there 2 years ago. Ambassador, he said. He still called her that, even though the title meant nothing now. Tae, come in. They sat together in her small living room. He told her about his work at the new Ministry of Defense. He told her about the ships they were building and the soldiers they were training. He told her that Earth was preparing for war. Do you think it will come to that? She asked. The Vorn will not stop, Tae said. They never do. Eventually they will reach Earth. And when they do, we will be ready. Yuna nodded slowly. She thought about the council hall. She thought about Elder Tal and his cold black eyes. She thought about all the times she had begged for help and been turned away. And what about the council? She asked. What happens when the Vorn reach them? Tae was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, That is not our problem anymore. He was right. It was not their problem. But Yuna could not stop thinking about it, could not stop wondering if there was another way. She had wanted humanity to be independent. She had wanted them to stand on their own. But she had never wanted millions of innocent people to die because of decisions made by their arrogant leaders. Then again, she thought, how many humans had died while the council did nothing? The galaxy had made its choice. Now it would have to live with the consequences. Back at the council hall, Mira finally spoke the words that had been burning inside her for months. We should send an apology, she said. Tal stared at her as if she had lost her mind. An apology? Yes. A formal apology for how we treated them. An admission that we were wrong. An offer to start again, as equals. The council does not apologize. The council does not admit fault. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We do not bow to primitives. Then we will continue to die, Mira said flatly. Our people will continue to starve. Our economies will continue to collapse. And when the Vorn come, and they will come, we will face them alone. Tal stood up so fast that his chair fell backwards. His face twisted with anger. The humans are nothing. They have always been nothing. We survived before they came. We will survive after they are gone. Will we? Mira asked quietly. Look around you, Elder. Look at what has happened since they left. Look at what we have become. And then tell me again that they are nothing. She did not wait for his answer. She stood up and walked out of the chamber, leaving Elder Tal alone with his pride and his fear. Outside, the capital city crumbled slowly around her. And in the distance, somewhere among the stars, the Vorn were moving closer. The cracks had appeared. Soon, they would break wide open, and there would be no one left to help put the pieces back together. The Vorn came without warning, as they always did. Their ships appeared at the edge of council space like shadows sliding out of the darkness. There were hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. No one could count them fast enough before the attacks began. Commander Hyun stood in the monitoring center on Earth's moon and watched the data scroll across his screens. Red dots bloomed like flowers of blood across the star map. Each dot was a battle. Each battle was a massacre. The Valori fleet engaged them at the Karen Nebula, Lieutenant Hana reported. She was young, barely 30, but she had eyes that had seen too much already. They lasted 9 minutes. Casualties? Complete. No survivors. Hyun closed his eyes for a moment. 9 minutes. The Valori had the largest fleet in Council space. They had ships that made human vessels look like toys, and the Vorn had destroyed them in 9 minutes. What about the other Council fleets? The Korans are retreating. The Tellans never arrived. The others? Hana paused. Checking her data, the others are not responding to hails. They were running. All of them. The mighty Council species were scattering like frightened animals. Sir, another officer called out. We are receiving distress signals from multiple Council worlds. They are requesting assistance. Hyun walked to the communications station. The signals filled the room with desperate voices. Valori. Koran. Tellan. Species that had looked down on humans for 2 centuries. Species that had called them primitive and weak. Species that had denied them help when the Vorn had attacked Earth's colonies. Now they were begging. Should we respond, sir? The officer asked. Hyun thought about it. He thought about the 40,000 humans who had died in the first Vorn attacks. He thought about Ambassador Yuna standing in the council hall, asking for help that never came. He thought about Elder Tal's cold black eyes and cruel words. No, he said finally. We do not respond. Sir, they made their choice. They told us we were nothing. They told us we did not deserve to exist. Let them face the consequences of their own words. Hana moved to stand beside him. Her voice was soft when she spoke. Commander, I understand why you feel this way. We all do. But there are innocent people dying out there. Innocent people died on our colonies too, Hyun said. Where was the council then? Where were these distress signals when our children were burning? He turned away from the screens. He could not watch anymore. Monitor the situation, he ordered. Track the Vorn movements. Protect our borders. But we do not help the council. We do not risk a single human life for species that would not lift a finger for us. The order spread through the command structure. Earth's new fleet, powerful and ready, stayed in position around human space. They watched the galaxy burn from a safe distance. On Valori Prime, Elder Tal stood in the ruins of his palace. The Vorn had reached the capital 3 days ago. They had torn through the city like a storm, destroying everything in their path. The Great Council Hall, the building designed to make visitors feel small, was nothing but rubble now. Counselor Mira found him there, standing among the broken stones. The evacuation ships are ready, she said. We must go. Go where? Tal asked. His voice was hollow. Empty. Every world is falling. Every fleet is destroyed. Where can we go that the Vorn will not follow? Earth, Mira said. Tal laughed bitterly. Earth, the primitives, the weak species. You think they will help us? I think they are our only hope. They hate us. After everything we did, everything we said, they hate us. And they are right to hate us. Rum. Mira grabbed his arm and forced him to look at her. Then we beg. We grovel. We do whatever we must do to survive. I will not die here because of your pride, Elder. Something changed in Tal's eyes. The arrogance that had defined him for centuries cracked and crumbled. What was left was just a frightened old man facing the end of everything he knew. Send the message, he said quietly. Send it to Earth. Tell them. Tell them we were wrong. Tell them we need them. Tell them anything they want to hear. Mira nodded and ran to the communications center. She wrote the message herself, pouring every desperate hope into the words. She begged. She apologized. She offered everything the council had left, which was almost nothing. Then she sent it into the void and prayed that someone was listening. On Earth, the message arrived during a quiet evening. Yuna was in her garden, tending to the flowers she had planted when she finally accepted that her diplomatic career was over. She heard her personal communicator buzz and ignored it. Then it buzzed again, and again. Finally, she picked it up. She read the message 3 times. Each time, she felt something different. First shock. Then something that might have been satisfaction. Then, Slowly, something else. Something that felt uncomfortably like pity. She called Tay immediately. "I have seen it," he said before she could speak. "The whole command structure has seen it. The Council is begging for our help. What will we do?" There was a long pause. "Commander Hyun has refused all contact with Council species. He says they made their choice, and now they must live with it." "And what do you think, Tay?" Another pause, longer this time. I think I understand why he feels that way. I think I feel the same way sometimes. But I also think, yes, I think that if we become like them, if we let people die because of old grudges and wounded pride, then we lose something important. We lose what made us worth saving in the first place." Yuna closed her eyes. She had spent 2 years trying to forget the Council, trying to build a new life, trying to believe that Earth could stand alone. But Tay was right. Humanity was not just about strength. It was about something more. "Get me a meeting with the President," she said. "I need to speak with her tonight." 4 hours later, Yuna stood in the presidential residence, facing the most powerful person on Earth. President Kim was a small woman with gray hair and steel eyes. She had led humanity through the withdrawal and the rebuilding. She had made the hard choices when others faltered. "You want us to help them," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, after everything they did, after every insult, after they told us to die. Yes." "Why?" Yuna took a deep breath. "Because if we do not, we become exactly what they thought we were. Savage, brutal, unworthy of compassion. We will survive, but we will have lost our humanity." "Pretty words," the president said. "But my generals tell me that the Vorn are the greatest threat the galaxy has ever seen. If we send our fleet to help the Council, we risk our own people. I know, if our soldiers die protecting the Valori and the Korans, their families will curse my name forever. I know. Then give me one good reason why I should do this." Yuna thought about everything she had seen in her years as ambassador. The contempt, the dismissal, the cold certainty that humans did not matter. But she also thought about the Valori engineer who had once shared her lunch with a human worker, the Koran child who had waved at her in the market, the Tellan doctor who had cried when a human patient recovered from illness. They were not all monsters. They were not all like Elder Tal. "Because mercy is not weakness," she said finally. "Because compassion is not surrender. Because the galaxy will remember what we do in this moment for 10,000 years. We can be the species that watched and did nothing, or we can be the species that helped anyway, despite everything." The president was silent for a long time. Outside, the night sky was full of stars. Somewhere out there, millions were dying. "You know," the president said slowly, "I spent my whole career being told that humans were too soft, too emotional, too weak. I learned to ignore that voice. I learned to be hard." She stood up and walked to the window. "But you are right, Ambassador. If we let them die when we could have helped, we prove that everything they said about us was true. We become the monsters they imagined we were." She turned back to face Yuna. "I will give the order. Our fleet will deploy to Council space. We will fight the Vorn. We will protect whoever we can protect." Relief washed over Yuna like a wave. "Thank you, Madam President. Do not thank me yet. Many people will die for this decision. Humans will die. And when this is over, the Council may still treat us like nothing. They may never change. Then we will have to change them," Yuna said. "One act of mercy at a time." The president almost smiled. "You really believe that?" "I have to believe it." "What is the alternative?" The president nodded slowly. Then she turned to her aide. "Contact Commander Hyun. Tell him we are going to war." The human fleet arrived at the Battle of Teller Prime on the 7th day of the war. By then, half the Council worlds had fallen. By then, hope had become a forgotten word. Commander Hyun stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity and watched the Vorn armada spread across the stars like a plague. There were more of them than he had expected. Far more than the intelligence reports had suggested. "All ships in position," Lieutenant Hanna reported. The council survivors are behind us. 37 vessels. Most are damaged. Most cannot fight. Then we fight for them, Hyun said. He had argued against this mission. He had stood in the president's office and listed every reason why humanity should stay out of this war. He had reminded her of every insult, every dismissal, every death that the council had allowed. But in the end, he had followed orders. Because that was what soldiers did. And because, deep down, he knew that Yuna was right. Send the signal, he said. All ships engage. The human fleet moved forward into the darkness. 300 vessels against thousands of Vorn warships. The odds were impossible. The math was simple, but humans had never been good at math. The first clash was brutal. Vorn ships swarmed around the human vessels like insects around flames. They were fast and vicious, and utterly without mercy. They did not want prisoners. They did not want surrender. They wanted only destruction. The human shields held. The new technology that Earth's engineers had developed in their years of isolation. The shields that were actually better than Council designs, they held against attacks that had shattered Valori dreadnoughts in seconds, and then the humans fired back. The weapons were new too. Developed in secret. Designed by people who had spent their lives being told they were primitive. The energy beams cut through Vorn armor like sunlight through fog. The missiles found their targets with impossible precision. The Vorn had never faced anything like this. Elder Tal watched the battle from a damaged refugee ship. He had escaped Valori Prime with a handful of survivors. He had lost everything. His world. His people. His pride. Now he sat in a cramped cabin and watched human ships die to protect the species that had abandoned them. He did not understand. He could not understand. Why are they doing this? He asked Mira, who sat beside him. After everything we did, why would they help us? Mira shook her head slowly. I do not know. I have spent my whole life studying other species. I thought I understood humans. I thought they were simple, emotional, predictable. They are fools, Tal said. They will die for nothing. Perhaps, Mira said. Or perhaps they understand something we never did. The battle raged for 3 days. Human ships fell. Human soldiers died. Commander Hyun lost half his fleet in the first 12 hours alone, but they did not retreat. Reinforcements arrived from Earth. Every ship that could fly. Every soldier who could fight. They all came. It was not enough. It would never be enough, but still they came. On the 4th day, something changed. The Vorn attacks began to slow. Their formations started to break apart. The endless waves of warships became scattered and confused. No one understood why until a message came through from the science division. The Vorn are dying, the report said. Their command structure is failing. Our weapons are not just destroying their ships. They are destroying their ability to coordinate. They are too damaged to fight as one. Humans had found a weakness. By accident or by genius, they had found the one thing that could stop the Vorn. The tide began to turn. By the 7th day, the Vorn were retreating. By the 10th day, they were gone. They vanished back into the darkness, between stars, broken and scattered, and defeated for the first time in a million years. The galaxy was saved, and everyone knew who had saved it. Elder Tal's refugee ship was brought to Earth for repairs. He stepped off the vessel onto human soil with nothing but the clothes on his back. The great leader of the Valori, reduced to a refugee in a primitive world. Ambassador Yuna met him at the landing pad. She looked the same as she had 3 years ago, when she had stood in his council hall and begged for help. Small, quiet, not fierce, but her eyes were different now. There was steel in them that had not been there before. Elder Tal, she said, welcome to Earth. He did not know what to say. He had practiced speeches in his head. Apologies, explanations, justifications, but standing here, facing this woman who had every right to hate him, the words would not come. He started, I do not understand. What do you not understand? Why you helped us? Why you saved us? After everything? Why? Yuna was silent for a long moment. Around them, human workers moved supplies and helped other refugees. They did not stop to stare at the fallen council leader. They did not mock him or curse him. They simply did their work. "Do you remember what you said to me in your council hall?" Yuna asked finally. "You said that if humanity falls to the Vorn, it simply means humanity was not meant to last." Tal flinched. He remembered. He remembered every word. "I thought about those words every day for 3 years," Yuna continued. "I thought about how much they hurt. I thought about how much I wanted you to feel that same pain. Then why did you help us?" Yuna smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was real. "Because I realized that you were wrong, and because I realized that if I let you die to prove you were wrong, I would become exactly what you thought I was. I would become someone who watches others suffer and does nothing." She turned and began walking toward the city. Tal followed her, because there was nothing else he could do. "Humanity is not special because we are strong," Yuna said as they walked. "We are not special because we are smart, or advanced, or powerful. We are special because we choose to help even when it hurts. We choose to forgive even when it is hard. We choose to be better than our worst moments. But we do not deserve your forgiveness," Tal said quietly. "We do not deserve anything." "No," Yuna agreed. "You do not. But forgiveness is not about what you deserve. It is about what we choose to give." They reached a plaza in the center of the city. A monument stood there, newly built. It listed the names of every human who had died in the war. Thousands of names carved in stone. Tal stared at the monument for a long time. Each name was a life lost. Each name was a person who had died protecting species that had hated them. "We will rebuild the council," he said finally. "But it will be different. Humanity will have a seat. A true seat. Equal to any other species." "That is a start," Yuna said. "But it is not enough. What more can we do?" "You can listen. When young species come to you asking for help, you can listen. You can remember what it felt like to be alone and afraid. You can choose to be better than you were." Tal looked at her. The small human woman who had changed the galaxy. "I spent 10,000 years believing that the strong deserved to rule," he said. "I believed that weakness was a flaw to be eliminated. I believed that compassion was a luxury that only primitives could afford." He bowed his head. "I was wrong. About all of it." Yuna nodded slowly. "Yes. And now? Now you have a choice. You can rebuild the old council. The one that looked down on others. The one that let innocent people die. Or, you can build something new. Something that remembers this moment. Something that never forgets what humans did for you." Tal raised his head. His eyes, those cold black eyes that had dismissed humanity so easily, were different now. There was something in them that might have been humility, or might have been shame. "I will remember," he said. "I will make sure everyone remembers." "Good," Yuna said. "Because we will be watching." She walked away, leaving him alone with the monument and the names of the dead. The war was over. The galaxy was healing. The council would be rebuilt with humanity at its heart. Everything had changed because a small group of people had chosen kindness over revenge. Elder Tal stood in front of the monument until the sun went down. He read every name. He tried to understand what it meant to give everything for people who had given you nothing. He would spend the rest of his life trying to understand. And maybe, someday, he would. High above Earth, the stars shone down on a world that had been called primitive. A world that had been called weak. A world that had been told it did not deserve to exist. But that world had survived. It had saved the galaxy, and it had done it not with hatred or vengeance, but with the simple, powerful belief that even your enemies deserve mercy. That was humanity. That was what made them different, and the galaxy would never forget it.